Hello, YouTube. This is Stephen Ray of Strings to Soul. So today I have with me my Guild 12-string acoustic. This is overseas made Guild. I've had it for a few years now, so it's one of my main acoustics alongside the Yamaha. And I need to restring it, and 12 strings are kind of a bitch to do. And so I thought, why not have y'all join me on this journey? So I'm going to use these D'Addario Phosphor Bronze strings. Also going to be cleaning out the body a little bit. Show you what I'll do. So, have a look-see. So now you get to see my lovely, ugly face. How about that? I'm trying not to show it on my face, but what are you going to do, right? I've already taken a couple strings off. This is like my second or third attempt on trying to do this video. I may just give up if this video doesn't hold up. I just say screw it. But I'm clipping off the strings right now. I've decided that I'm probably only going to focus on a couple at a time, about two or three at a time, or one or two at a time. I'm not going to take all the strings off just yet, but I kind of do need to at some point. Anywho, so this is what you get to see. A grown-ass man fiddling around with his guitar, which he could do this on his own without anybody having to watch him. That's part of the fun, right? I subscribe to a couple of guitar techs or luthiers or whatever the hell you call them on YouTube. On my main account, I subscribe to Dave's World of Fun Stuff, and also Ted Woodford. There's a couple of Canadian guys that I like to watch. Brad the Guitarologist, which he kind of does more, in-depth repair on amps and electrics and so forth. I don't really see him fiddle that much with acoustic guitars. Maybe here and there I've seen him, but I've seen him do that. But for the most part, that's what he deals with: it's electric guitars and amps and stuff like that. And I like those sorts of things. I like watching YouTube a lot, and I watch it frequently. Even with my wife, I watch it. Sometimes some of the stuff that I like to watch tends to bore my wife to death. But we like to watch cooking videos together here and there. I can't remember who did this last. I think I had this done at Guitar Center. Oh my god, it's been that long. I need to be restringing this thing more than once a year, maybe twice. I think if you have a 12-string guitar, unless you're playing a gig or some shit like that, some crap like that, forgive me. Unless you're playing a gig or whatever, don't bother, Don't bother trying to change your strings like all the time. Just change them whenever you feel like it's most comfortable for you, like once in a blue moon, which is kind of like what I like to do. I'm really lazy about changing strings. I think I'm going to take all the strings off, but what I'm going to do as a reference point is probably leave these strings in at the end, and then just take them out one by one and then replace them one by one. But I'll clip them right here at the sound hole, so that way I can have access to the fretboard and cleaning it, whatnot, and then we'll get started on the process of restringing. I think this guitar could use a setup at some point, but right now I'm not really, it's no longer needed right now because the action is pretty decent. I like the action where it's at, but I think it's got a lot of play where, especially if you go up, you'll see my hand there a little bit, sorry. It's got a lot of where if you go up the neck, or see if you look at these frets here, in the cowboy chord position, I think that's where most people tend to stay. I think that's kind of my mainstay area. It's probably these first 5 or 6 frets, maybe 7 frets. I actually play all the way up and down the neck, but because I like to play different chords up and down the neck. But another thing too, I've had made a lot of divots in the frets there, and I think at some point it could use a truss rod adjustment. The truss rod is actually right here at the sound hole. I'm not going to try to point it to where you can see it, but you can see it where I pointed my finger at. But anywho, that is the Guild. I'm going to try to continue on, and then you'll see my hand for a brief moment, and then now you see my lovely, ugly face. My fat face. But yeah, I enjoy watching guitar YouTubers. Some of them have a little bit too much of an ego. I think sometimes also there's 2 different people behind the camera. Sometimes you see people behind a camera and then you think that that's who they are in person, but when in actuality that's not who they really truly are, So my goal here is to get all the strings loose off at this peg, or at this tuning post. And I'm doing it by hand, kind of doing it the long way, because I'm kind of walking you through my process. So I had to kind of learn how to change 12 strings the hard way last time when I did this. I can't remember the last time I actually restrung a 12 string. It's been a long time, honestly. I think the last couple of times I just had somebody restring it for me because I thought it was too much of a hassle to do on my own. And if I can restring a 6, why not a 12, right? So I'm getting everything super duper loosey-goosey, so that way all I have to do is just clip, and you're hearing the rattling of the strings at the bridge, which I apologize for, but you're going to bear with me on that. I don't have, of course, my lovely stand. I have a stand usually for iPhone, but I'm not sure where it is. My wife knows where it's at, and I'm not going to bother asking her because I don't really want to bother her right now. I want her to relax because I know that right now it's Chinese New Year, so it was already Chinese New Year, like 2nd or 3rd day of Chinese New Year in Asia and China and Hong Kong and whatnot. So people are getting prepared for their Lunar New Year celebrations. So, happy Lunar New Year. It's also the year of the ox, which is, coincidentally, it's our birth year. I was born in 1985, so was my wife. Year of the ox. So, Happy New Year. Kung hei fat choi sung thinking home. That is Cantonese for have a blessed New Year. So, I'm trying to take all the excess off at the headstock here. And then as soon as I get to the excess, we're going to get to where the magic happens, which is at the fretboard, which is where I really need to spend some time cleaning and doing a deep clean. So with that, in order to do the cleaning, I have some cleaner prep here. This is your standard Dunlop cleaner. I actually need to invest in some new cleaner at some point, but right now I'm using what I got because I have plenty of it, and I've had this set since like 2014, 2015, something like that. So it's been quite a while. That's how long I've had this set. Probably maybe even longer. It could be 2011 or 2012. It's that old. You know, I don't really use it that often. I seldom use it. But as you can see here, I am sporting the Strings to Soul shirt. I'm going to be doing a giveaway at some point on that. So stay tuned for the podcast for that. I may even do it on the YouTube channel, but I don't have very many subscribers on the YouTube channel, so I'm probably going to have to do it on my Instagram page since I have more subscribers on there than anything. I have an Instagram page for Strings to Soul. It's just called Strings 2 SOUL. And then if you want to know why I named it that, I just kind of came up with that title in my head because I had a friend of mine that was encouraging me to start up this podcast, and he's like, what are you going to name it? And I'm like, I don't know. If I had a podcast, I don't know what to name it. I had an idea for it. I just didn't know where to start, honestly. I had no clue where to start. But that's okay. Sometimes you got to start somewhere. Whether it be, you know, doing a podcast from your home, in your house, with your iPhone and a mic, you know, just doing that, and then getting to where you're more comfortable with working with an audio workstation or some form of DAW or whatever, kind of going from there. Anywho, so now we're going to get to the fretboard. The fretboard is pretty dirty. It's nasty. It's grimy. So I gotta clean it. Normally, you can probably even use, there's quite a bit different things that you can use to clean your fretboard with, different products, whatever. I just kind of like using this cleaner prep first because the main thing I really want to tackle is just the fretboard because it is god awful gunky. So I spray a little bit of cleaner on a paper towel here, and then I just kind of scrub the fretboard, and I get all that nasty, greasy, gunky, filthy residue from hours of playing or collecting dust, what have you. And I do that, you know, once, and then I kind of let it dry, and then I kind of like to go back over it with some actual fretboard deep cleaner. I've got deep conditioner cleaner because the fretboard, I feel like, gets the most wear out of your guitar. I'm gonna spray the cleaner cleaner on the rag, wipe it down. Sometimes I like to go back over it like maybe 2 or 3 times. Because I'm like, man, this thing, it's just filthy. The frets are even worse. I've got to get a fret eraser at some point, which I'll probably invest in that at some point in time, but right now I'm not too worried about it. Like I said, I don't gig with this guitar. There's no need for me to consistently polish this guitar and make it look pristine because it's more of a player than anything. It's kind of what I like to consider it to be. So one rag I kind of want to use for doing some cleaning, and I'll probably at the end, once I get it all tuned up and whatnot, if I decide to, I can probably clean up the body a little bit, but that choice is up to me, and that's all it is. So also kind of like to clean up on the headstock as well. Also, from what I've heard from a friend of mine, make sure you get your tuners in a line. So each tuner is gonna have its own deal. So like I can do one side, and then when I come back over to the other side, I'll come back to the other. So there's a 6 there, 6 in line. I think this guitar has a little bit of a hump at the fretboard. I don't have any tools to kind of sight it, but from just looking at it myself, I can obviously tell this guitar's got a little bit of a hump. That's going to naturally happen. It'll probably occur over time, whatnot. Usually that happens in guitars during the winter, I guess. So, next thing on my list, next priority, is we get another piece of towel, paper towel. Now that the fretboard is good and dry, I can go back over it with this. This is the deep cleaner, which I like to use. And I just heavily coat the rosewood with that. I kind of feel like sometimes rosewood can hold up the most moisture, but it also at the same time, it's one of those woods, tone woods or whatever you call it, that gets dried out super duper fast over time. I know there's thousands of other guys that you could probably be watching right now on YouTube. And there's a lot of other guys I like to watch as well, because especially Dave's World of Fun Stuff. I love Dave's humor, sense of humor on things. He gets all these customers and they're like, oh, they have all these odd requests, and then he gets customers that like drive him crazy with all these odd requests. And like, it's like, come on folks, you know, you get your guitar to me and then you expect me to fix it up for you. You don't have all the tools properly, you don't have anything going on that you think this is going to work, this part's going to work, and it actually ain't, and you're just wasting your damn money. And you could have came to me, you could have came to the guy first of all to get your crap fixed up. You know, it's just one of those things. I'm trying not to get any of the deep conditioner on the top, because the top is maple top, probably maple peely, whatever you call it. Maple top. So I really want to just avoid getting any other oils on that. I think that cleaned up rather nicely, so I'm gonna let y'all have a look-see here. So now you can probably see what's going on. There you go, boom. Should have had a nice shot of it before and after. But yeah, there's a little bit of paper towel on there. That's fine. Kind of let it do its conditioning. And then get a close-up of my hand there, since I don't have a a blah blah blah, blah blah blah. Sometimes I forget my English, you know? So I forget these guitars are a little bit different. So this is the first one there. That's the, I forget. I couldn't remember what was put on this guitar, if they were D'Addarios or some other, probably some other string. Could have been. Looks like it was some other brand. Normally if it's D'Addarios, it has that color coding on the back. So, brass. So, probably could have been D'Addarios, I think. Because this is brass. Brass. I love the effectiveness of companies like D'Addario. The fact that they can have a product that normally is super easy to, pretty much straightforward, you know, when it comes to string changing, because sometimes people get this stuff done backwards, you know. So first string we're going to do is the thinner one. Always remember, kids, you take this little dealy doohickey bobber, do this. See the little scrunchy thingy I made? I like to do that. I don't know about you, but it just makes me happy when I do that. That way. See, that way, I like to do them one at a time. And everyone has their own method. I used to think there was no right or wrong way to install a string. The only wrong way is if you do it backwards. It doesn't matter how many wraps that you have on a particular string, as long as it's enough to actually keep it locked in place. And normally with these coated ones, like the phosphor bronze, the ones that have multiple wrappings, it's easier to get them wrapped around the headstock and let them actually stay there. I'm glad that I'm taking this one step at a time. And normally, I would speed this up right about now. I'll probably take my little D'Addario string winding tool. I'm not sponsored by D'Addario in any way. Also, I like to leave the excess on until the very end, until I'm completely tuned up and ready to go. Boom. And I'll, leave it slightly tuned. So, there's one down, and more to go. So I kind of like that system. I think I want to stick with that system of keeping the strings on here at this end, so that way I have a reference guide of what I need to take in, take out, remove. Otherwise, it's just going to be a complete mess, and I'm not going to know what I'm doing, if that makes any sense. So, next string. And of course, this is one of the few guitars that I have that is tuned to E standard. Most of my guitars have been tuned in some sort of weird alternate tuning one way or another. I actually kind of have this down tuned a little bit, and I've been kind of messing around on some slight down tunings, but for the most part I do keep this one in standard because I like having a guitar just to strum chords on. Believe it or not, one of the first 12-string acoustics that I owned was a Yamaha 12-string made in Taiwan, one of those Taiwanese models. It was a good guitar, I think. Pretty much held out pretty well, I think, for the most part. I didn't really have any issues with it except for the action was atrociously high. And another thing is that it didn't even have a truss rod inside of the cavity. So there was no truss rod at the headstock nor inside the sound hole. So I was kind of out of the loop as far as getting the action to where I wanted it to be. So in the end, when I was taking guitar lessons in college, I ended up using it as a slide guitar. And my guitar teacher, he saw it as an opportunity to kind of, teach me something about, different players or whatnot. So he was mentioning to me about this guitarist by the name of Leo Kottke, who's a 12-string player. And he does all these really cool, like, folksy Americana slide tuning deal. He's using the guitar almost like a, kind of a slide dealy. And just playing some cool slide riffs, whatnot. Kind of forgetting my, Nope, I'm not. As long as I I go one at a time, I should be okay. As long as I'm going one at a time. Because that way I still have that reference point. I like having a reference point on that, so that way I know that was the E. And then I can just throw away my trash as I go. See, whenever you're playing guitar or you're changing strings, you end up developing your own system of things. The cool thing about the D'Addario strings is that they have that little system on the back, and the bowlines are color-coded. So if you forget, where you're at, you always have that reference point as well. They make it almost idiot-proof, which is what I love. And sometimes I have to reach my hand in here. And luckily for me, I have small hands. So nope, wrong one. See, I've got one string here. Nope. Aha. There's this one. Well, son of a gun. And sometimes you run into an issue, but that's okay. You're gonna have those moments. You're gonna be like, well, nope. Okay, there's one. There's one. That's the red. See, that's the red one. So now I gotta get to the other side of, luckily, I'm gonna put this one back in its place that way. Nope. Don't. Yep. And that's all she wrote. I'm going to leave it at that. Peace out. And I'll give you the results at the end of the next video. Let you know how it went. Peace out, guys. Bye.